All right, everyone, this is a Lost Files episode. And so I wanted to still share this episode. We recorded this, I would say maybe back in September of 2022. So some of the references are going to be a little bit dated, but the information around using voice apps for accessibility is very huge, and it makes this an amazing interview. And you get to meet my good friend, Kerri Schrader from Mixtroz. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Welcome to another episode of A Perfect Blend. This is the podcast where we think about customer retention, we think about brand engagement, and how we can utilize a blended interdisciplinary approach to increasing those retention rates and repeat customer sales. Of course, you all know that I love voice technology, so we're going to have an exercise in there where we think about how we could use voice apps, preferably Amazon Alexa, or some kind of conversational AI to get things going in the right direction. Today, I have a very special guest, Miss Kerri Schrader. She's a former HR exec turned non-technical tech co-founder. She's the creator of her own co-founder, her daughter, Ashley, and she is a 3-time surTHRIVOR, open heart, breast cancer, and entrepreneurship as a Black woman. She said her guilty pleasure shows are Naked and Afraid and Pimple Popper. All right. Might have to circle back around to that a little bit later. Now, I have to say, she said in her bio that she is non-technical, but we just went through the most technically challenging situation just getting set up for this. So I think that I can dub her a technical founder now. And I'm your host, Dr. Paul McNeil. So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. Kerri, thank you so much for joining me today on A Perfect Blend.
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. Paul, thank you so much for having me on. We have history that runs deep. So
Facts.
glad to be on. And hell, I'm open to suggestions if we can come up with something.
Hey, this is what it's all about. Sometimes we find things out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always a great discussion. One of the things I want to introduce is the framework that we generally use at my firm when we are talking about retention and making optimizations and enhancing the customer journey. We try to use this 3-point structure, and that is primarily looking at customer experience, usable security, because that's my background, voice technology, and tying it all together with data-driven experiments, right? So I call it the CUVE, C-U-V-E. And anybody who knows about a little bit about wine, or a lot, I don't know if this is a deep cut, but a CUVE is what they use to blend the wine in. It's the big wine vat. And so I like to think of optimizing. See, I see you got your wine glass. You already know. So I like to think of a good customer journey like a blended experience. It's a bunch of different things. And so we're about to take Mixtroz through the wine vat, or through our vat. And but before we do that, would you tell us a little bit about Mixtroz, how it got started, why you made it, and then lastly, what you all are doing right now for customer retention? So 3 questions.
Okay, let me see if I can remember them, because as you pointed out, I'm already having a sip of wine. First of all, Mixtroz is a B2B SaaS platform that allows leaders or hosts or whoever is the organizer of an event to make it meaningful, impactful connections and create community for their attendees while they're able to collect custom data on demand. So you can think of us like networking in the 21st century using tech to support it. So Mixtroz is available on download on the Apple or Android store and via a web URL. And again, it's for live, virtual, or hybrid events. The one thing that we are not an event platform. We're not Wova and hop in and gather around, nor are we Zoom or GoToMeeting or Teams. We actually are the engagement for humans once you have them in a group and ready to make them into smaller groups. And we literally came up with Mixtroz, we being the daughter or co-founder that I created, my daughter. Although we have deep domain expertise, me as a former HR executive and my daughter Ashley as a former director of events. She's done events for Oprah, the Olympics, Moet Hennessy, and her claim to fame, although dated at this point, is she was LeBron James' first intern in her undergrad. And so on one weekend pre-COVID, her and I both had a clumsy weekend of networking. in our own demographics. I was in Nashville, she was in New York. And when we talked about it, just during a regular conversation, it was like, it has to be a better way. We literally got on what we love to call the Google during the conversation to look for an answer. And when we didn't find it, we literally made Mixtroz up in that conversation. Did I answer? I seem like I answered two questions. Am I missing
No,
one?
that was amazing. No, that was it. What do
Okay.
you all do? How did you guys get started? Why you make it? That was it. And then the last question was as far as your customers, your current customer retention, and what are the things that you're doing to just keep your customers engaged? I know you mentioned that you're B2B and your platform is interesting because when we think about SaaS and a B2B SaaS platform, your primary customer is also has their own customers and you have to think about them as well. So you have to think about end users as your customer, right? And then also your more immediate customer, that intermediary. So how are you thinking about that and trying to make sure that Mixtroz is something that people come back to if they are an end user? And how do you make sure that people want to come back and continue their partnerships with Mixtroz? I think that's two lanes, right?
Yeah, no, and they're both correct. So our indirect client, who is an attendee that comes to a event, whether it's virtual or in person, is the indirect client, and our direct client, of course, is the person who pays and that event organizer, and it's all about driving value and experience for both of them. Our clients that we are really niching out are clients that understand the impact of engaged audiences. And we throw out all of these words and people, oh my God, they're engaged or whatever. But truly, in my background as an HR professional, I know and have led teams where we measure engagement. And for every incremental percentage of increased engagement, then productivity goes up, and all of the things that lead to higher profitability follow it in that direct line. And so, right now, across our three verticals, higher education, conferences and conventions, and business enterprise with 500 or more employees, although the verbiage is different, what people want humans to do is, whether they're paying or they've been called to come to a meeting from a power play of you must come, they people want to make sure, our clients want to make sure those people are engaging with other people that are actually there, starting to build communities, having that opportunity, and being able to get custom data from every subset. So the data that we collect is different from what sits in enterprise systems, HRIS, or IT systems. It's based on this collection of people. What does that organizer want to ask? And based on those questions and how they're weighted, is how people will be put in groups. So we're always looking to add to that value. We do not want to be a vitamin, and to our clients, we're not a vitamin, we are a painkiller. To our indirect clients, we're not a vitamin, we're a painkiller, because if you poll people, 90% and higher go to events, pay to go to events, hoping that they are going to actually connect with other individuals. Because now, in this time, specifically post COVID, if I just want to take in content, I can live stream, downstream, upstream, reverse stream anytime I want from the comfort of my bed. But if I'm on a Zoom call, if I'm at an in person event, I get higher, I'm engaged at a different level when I actually can meet other humans, because at the end of the day, humans were built to communicate with other humans. And although technology can play a part in supporting that, it can't take it over. And that's why Mixtroz has been successful.
No, I definitely love that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Just making it where I like that, making it a painkiller, not a vitamin. And I think that's really what you want when you're thinking about how do we get our customers coming back, is making sure that one, that you're really hitting a need. I just went to a networking event, I want to say a week ago or so, and I was just like, oh man, I got to do this again. And that muscle has atrophied for me. I'm naturally an introvert. So the lockdown was actually the best thing ever. I was like, for the first time in my life, people are living the way I've always wanted to live. It was great. I'm not an extrovert. I have practiced and strengthened that muscle so that I can do what I needed to do. But for me, I was happy. I was already on Instacart before lockdown. I was already to myself prior. So then when it became everyone else was doing it as well, I was like, that's what you get, extroverts. This is how I've been feeling my whole life. You got to learn a new skill. I don't feel bad for any of you.
That's
But
funny.
now that we are all coming back out, right? You have to, for those of us who are more introvert, you have to work that muscle. And your tool does something where you get placed in these groups where you have at least one thing in common with everyone in that group. And that's very helpful.
100%. That one thing is you're at that event. The
Mhm.
organizer, who should know more than anybody what would be the things, because all the times you might not want, the organizer might not feel your maximum value is to be with people that you are like. And so based on our proprietary algorithm, they can make the group similar, dissimilar, or totally random just based
Mhm.
on how they pose the question. So I think that's very important. And let me stick up for the extroverts. I'm an extrovert and I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
being out. I love being on the Zoom calls, but I also know that to an introvert like you, I can be extra. So Mixtroz actually sets an extrovert, an introvert, and anything in the middle up for success because it flattens, it levels out the playing field for everyone.
Mm.
Because actually, it engages each group with customized icebreakers. And now, even Paul, that you're not aware of, there's actually, it will say, Paul asked this question, Kerri asked this question, Jane asked this question, so that everybody in the group has an opportunity to participate. And then at the end of the day, human nature has to kick in. What we are
Right.
doing is setting it up for that spark to hit.
No, I love that. I love that because, as you know, like introverts, oftentimes it's those entry level conversations, those icebreakers that make you like, I don't know if I'm gonna think of those right questions. And so if you can utilize the questions from that organizer and your icebreakers to break through to where we already feel that rapport, then it allows those introverts like myself to break free. Although people will tell me that I'm not an introvert because once I get to know you, I talk a lot. But
I was going
that's
to say, I don't know Dr. McNeil, the introvert people. I know Dr. McNeil, the
yeah.
extrovert.
That's right, because you met that muscle when it was 100% worked out. I had been coming off of conferences and graduate school and interviews, and I was hitting the ground. But then I got to go back and I was like, oh, I got to get back to it. So I guess my question now is, we talked about keeping people engaged while they're using your product and why your direct customers are so excited about it. What are some other things you are doing besides the software to keep them engaged? Are you doing email marketing with them? Are you putting out some kind of insider podcast that's specifically for your customers? How are you guys communicating with them in between engagements, in between events, things like that?
Some of our clients, and where we're moving our clients, are to subscription. So once they come on the platform, we want them to use their subscription so that they can gain all of the data, but also the engagement across whatever their organization is. Right now, we are killing it with CRM and
Okay.
drip emails and those
Yeah.
things. We also have a human that after their onboarding, which is virtual, and it's like Mixtroz is more like onboarding for Canva or Eventbrite. It is not like putting in an SAP type deal.
Okay.
So, but we still want to have those human connection points because that's what we're about, human to human connectivity. So we will help them build their first mix, and then we'll see a follow-up of, okay, look at the things you gained, this is what you could have did better, and then we watch to see how they're using their subscription. But we're doing too much manual piece trying to track that, because as we grow clients, because we're a technology, we don't
Right.
necessarily equate our number of clients to how, that old model of you have 12 clients, you need 3 people. Technology supports what we do, so we do need to work smarter.
Okay. All right. No, that's amazing. And I love that piece because I know when I talk to a lot of people, sometimes they don't do that human to human follow up when you have something that can be self service, which is, if I remember correctly, that's where you all were the last time we had checked in. People were able to just get in there and start setting things up. Is that still
100%. It's a
okay?
self-service platform. Once they
That's
have their
amazing.
credentials, and like
Yeah.
they can actually, people can go on our website and go from looking to purchasing, then they get onboarded virtually and they're off to the races.
And then they're off to the. So first off, everyone, the reason I'm asking about this is because I was there like very early on. And so right now it's like I'm reuniting with a friend and she's telling me that her baby could write its name. Okay, that's how I feel right now. I'm like, yo, it's walking and talking and it can hold a pencil. This is amazing.
All right, we're about to
So,
send you an invitation to graduation. You know how
you
people
know,
look you up after
exactly.
18 years, like,
Exactly.
oh, Dr. McNeil got some dollars, baby. Send him an invite to the
Exactly.
graduation.
Send that picture. Yeah, remember
Yeah,
when you were little? So I
yeah.
feel like you have someone who's ready to basically go off to kindergarten. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe they have opinions and they can talk. It's so amazing because we were all getting started out, and at that time I was focused more on the usable security side of things in the cyberspace, and my journey took me through to data, like doing marketing analytics, and then eventually this voice apps for marketing. And so it's just amazing to see like how you all have grown and how Mixtroz is doing. Also, you got a bit of good news that I did not put in the intro. I'm gonna let you share it yourself because are we allowed to say that now, or is
Oh
that not
yeah,
a
no, it
thing?
came out.
Is it
No, no,
public?
no. It
Okay.
actually came out yesterday, and so thank you for that. Yesterday, Ashley and I found out that we are two of the 100 women that Inc. has awarded female founders for 2022. So we're pretty excited about that. It's
Let's
all
go.
over Inc.com. It'll be on the newsstands in October. For my close friends, I'll sign it for 50, 60, $75. All others start at
Oh man, that's
200.
crazy. Woo! Come on. She says she's signed. She's charging a sign. She's big time now.
Guess
Mama, we
what? Guess
made it.
what? Guess what? You know the life of an entrepreneur. You have to have
The,
many streams of revenue. Yeah.
Absolutely. Always on the hustle. Listen, I
Yeah.
respect it. I respect it. Get your $50 together, everybody. I'm gonna get a freebie because I'm gonna do like a free consult or something. We're gonna do a
Yeah, no,
barter
something
system.
for sure,
We're
for
gonna keep it
sure.
old school.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
love it. Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. It's amazing accomplishment. And you all have done an amazing thing as well, just in how you fundraise and being Black women to have raised as much as you have and to see what you were up against prior to relocation. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Just, I really want to give you your flowers now on this in this moment. Just say it's very inspiring. I'm very proud of both of you and just happy to be in your network. Just happy to be able to watch from a distance and up close every so often. I really appreciate it. And I think you all are doing amazing work, not just with what you're doing with your company, but who you are and how you're standing on your social and when you get these opportunities and just is speaking to it. So if no one else has told you that publicly, I did.
No, I gotta tell you, I do want to say this. I appreciate it because even though when people hear the amounts of money that we have raised, I need people to understand it pales in comparison with what our peers that do not look like us are able to raise, and they're able to raise it without prototypes or MVPs or millions of dollars of revenue. So I don't
Right.
want people to ever become jaded. And the other thing is, as I have matured in this process, one of the things that I find it necessary, we not only need to win for ourselves, but win, lose, or draw, I do want to make sure that we as Black females quit talking about shattering glass ceilings. It dawned on me maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I was always told, even in my HR career, you're shattering glass ceilings. But you do
Mm,
understand that if you pull somebody through something that is shattered glass, they and you will bleed to death. What we need to
hmm
do is focus on removing the damn ceiling and go from that, because we all should have an opportunity to give this entrepreneurial life a shot, because it's not easy already. But if you come through and you half dead from a bleed out, you're like
Oh,
even 42 more steps behind. So I just wanted to take a pause to say that, and also congratulate you, because as you've watched me grow, you've grown as well, because that's what entrepreneurs do. We iterate. Is no different than what Instagram has done and all of these other
right.
things. Twitter started off as something else and now it's finding its way. So
Mm,
congratulations to you to
thank you.
listening to your customer and your journey and go and get it. So yeah, let's do it.
No, listen, I appreciate that so much. Like you said, I think just embracing those various opportunities and how everyone's entrepreneurial journey is different is something that I think in like our Black and brown communities, we're not trained to be okay with. It's very much a perfectionist community. So for those of you who are listening, if you're not aware, many times in the Black and brown community, when you decide to start your own business and start to do your own thing, if you don't create something profitable within the first 60 days, okay, then it is, you have failed. You need to go get a job. And that's what you hear for years until you make it. Many times. There are some that don't come from that. Anecdotally, a majority of the founders that I've spoken with, that is a common thing. And oftentimes they're the first ones in their family to do it. Now, if you come from a family of entrepreneurs, then usually you're fine. But a lot of times that is what we're up against. And so that's also part of what makes you all have done, Kerri, at Mixtroz so amazing, is because you also have that, which has nothing to do with anything external. That's internal, right? That's family, that's friends, those people right around you, and having to block out what is immediately around you as well as whatever is coming from you, whether it's based on gender, race, the newness of innovation, all of those different things. You then have that, sometimes have that at your home base. So before we wrap up, you all already know how this works. We're going to do our brainstorming session where we're going to figure out how we can incorporate some kind of voice app to help. Now, in the case of Mixtroz, you have a red pill, blue pill moment. I don't know if that's a good example given the current social media landscape. One or two
Yeah,
at the
go
classes,
with one
the
or
one or
two.
two.
Yeah, one or
Let's
two.
go with that. Let's go with
One
that.
or two.
One
Yeah,
or
that's
two.
right.
One or two.
Yeah.
So we're going to say, so the goal of this exercise is to think of how we're going to get voice apps to work with your business. Now, because you have two types of customers, or direct, indirect, we can take it from either angle. So first, I guess, one or two. Do you, one, want to go with your direct B2B customers, or two, your indirect end user who's probably coming to the event?
I think I want to go to two because I actually have an idea that we've been playing with at Team Mixtros of as we scale something that we need to address. And
Okay.
that's that. Go ahead. All right. You tell me when you want it. Because I'm like,
All
let
right.
me give it
One
to you.
second.
Let's
One
do it.
second. Now, first off, I got to put disclaimer out. Usually I do it at the very beginning. I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead and do it now at the beginning of the exercise. This is a little legalese, okay?
Yeah.
But this is a brainstorming exercise. At no point is this an admission that we are entering into any kind of contract for work today, tomorrow, or in the future, all right? We're just going ahead and doing a wonderful
Make
exercise
that
and
degree
thinking
work
through
for
it.
you. Go
You know what I'm
ahead.
saying? Hey,
Show 'em what
listen,
that
come on now.
PhD
We
does.
gotta
That's right. I
gotta make
love it.
sure.
Yeah,
Listen, we
you
gotta
got
make
me
sure everything's
all.
on the up and up.
Me as an HR person, I do that
You
same
know?
thing. Like, I can only give you it. This is advice, and
Yeah.
based on what you've told me, without knowing the other
Exactly.
side. So yes,
Exactly.
no, down with it.
This is not a contractual obligation whatsoever. And Kerri's not going to be sharing any proprietary information. Whatever she shares on
No.
here should be open and cool to the public, because I don't want to be held
Yeah.
responsible for nothing. I ain't raised no money. I'm broke. No.
He's hilarious.
All
Okay.
right. So now that that's out of the way, all right. So we're going with two. You said customer on the end
Indirect.
user, so your
Yeah.
indirect customer. All right, great. So now we're thinking about something that has to do with that customer journey. So you said you already have a pain point that has jumped to mind. What is that? And what are you thinking?
When I think of our clients that our clients client that could either tune in or virtually or be live, I'm thinking about those folks with special needs.
Mm,
So whether it's having an issue looking at their device, whether it's a smartphone or whether it's a tablet, an iOS tablet, or if they're in front of their computer and they're coming in through a web URL, how do you think that the voice could help in helping them navigate so that they too could join groups without being having to read?
right.
Or yes.
No, I love that. Okay. And I think in the like a maybe 2 years ago or so, we talked at a very high level about something like this. So I'm trying to remember, and if I go off, but my immediate thought would be, and I always go with Alexa because it's the most prevalent device in smart speaker and smart televisions. Well, a lot of people don't realize when you get a Fire TV and a Fire Stick, that's still Alexa, right? It doesn't
Oh,
have to be the little Echo device.
huh.
When you make an Alexa skill or a voice app, it works on the little speaker, it works on the one with the screen, but it also works on anything that you plug a Fire Stick into. It also works on any Fire TV that you have. So that's why I love that's my go-to. So if we're thinking about Alexa, the way that would work, you could make a Mixtroz voice app completely in Alexa and still allow it to connect people to the proper groups based on like your codes and so forth, and they could just audibly tell that number or whatever that room number or code is, and they could just talk to Alexa through the whole thing. If they have a device that has a screen on it, like a Echo Show or a television, you might be able to do something where you have those in a much larger card format that's like really easy to read, very user accessible. It could also read the questions out to them. Now, the part of this where I would have to do more research would be around allowing them to actually discuss in real time how that would work. Now, in person, they could put their earbuds in. Any cell phone can download the Alexa app for free and just use it. So if they have an earbud, they could use that to read the instructions or whatever and help them if that's something that's going. But that would be the piece where I would need to dig a little bit deeper. But at a high level, I would say, just as far as question reading and question assistance, they could just use that app and have it in their ear so it's repeating questions to them. And then they wait for their turn to talk, and then they just start talking or communicating.
But in order to get into the very first groups with Mixtroz, they would need
Mm-hmm.
to answer those questions, and their answers would need to go into the algorithm
Uh,
in order for them to be assigned a group.
so here's my question. So is this something that people usually are answering before they even get to the event? So then the group's already made, or are they answering them on the spot?
No, there, because remember, if you remember, we're about real people who are actually there. So whether it's there is on a video
Mm-hmm.
conference or
Mm-hmm.
it's in person, we don't want people who are like, oh, you know what, it's too hot today. Even though I
Got
signed
you.
up, I'm
So
not
it's who's
going.
there. Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
for
an
that,
engaged audience. That's what a captive audience. Yes.
okay. So in that case, and thank you for reminding me of that. I did know that, and my brain was doing 12 things at once. So forgive me, but you're right. In that case, you could make a voice app that just dealt with that one piece, right? So we're still communicating, but as far as the things that are written down and things of that nature, they could, like I said, pull their phone out, pull up the Alexa skill app on their phone. Or if you had, I'm trying to think if there was another earbud device Alexa made. I can't remember if it came out or if I saw something and it wasn't launched yet. But I think they have an earbud as well now. But
So
they
I,
could
I
just,
want to make sure I
sure,
understand, Paul. So you're
yep,
saying on Android and iOS,
sure,
somebody can do Alexa
yep,
and access that platform.
yeah.
So then when they would download Mixtroz,
Oh, it's not focused.
yeah,
I keep doing this, but it's
you're
on
right.
my
I'm
phone
like,
right here. It's the app.
and so then they could answer those questions from there. And even if it was a web URL, could they do it from their laptop if it was
I
a virtual?
if it was virtual, they could still use their phone.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that a live Alexa is on the computers, but they could pull their phone out like I have. This is
yeah,
the interface, and I would just hit
mm,
this button on the top. It's not focused, but you can see there's a button
yeah.
there. I would hit that, and I could just talk to Alexa immediately. And so it just works. I don't have to do anything. I just download the app for free, and they could just say, "Hey Alexa, let me join my Mixtroz group or answer the Mixtroz questions." They could give whatever number that they needed to give, and Alexa could say, "Hey, you're in this group. Here's the first question. What's your response?" And they can answer that response, A, B, or C, or however options are laid out to them. And then that can be fed back to your database of however you go and do whatever. That could be fed back there. And then they would be grouped appropriately. And then the humans in the group would have to take care of making sure they are communicating in real time in a way that makes sense for those various individuals. But whenever you had anything that was for them to read, you could just have Alexa speak it to them. So then when they got to that next section, maybe it's the next question or what's my question or something like that, they could just say, "Hey Alexa, what's my question now? What am I supposed to be asking?" Alexa could read it off to them and then they could repeat it. So if they're in a virtual setting, they mute their mic, ask Alexa what to say, Alexa will say it, then they can unmute their mic and say what they needed to say and continue to communicate. If they're in real time in person, again, they could ask Alexa, what am I supposed to ask? And either just let Alexa speak for them because they're already in that crowd, or they could have their earbud in and Alexa could just say it and they would hear it through their earbud and then they could say it. A disclaimer. During our recording, Kerri and I had an issue, one with my mic and then with her speaker and then vice versa, and things got really weird. The rest of what you're going to hear as far as the brainstorming segment is actually going to be an AI generated version of my voice. I tried to piece together as much of what I could get from the audio as possible. So that's what you're going to hear. Let's see how well it goes. But I wanted to be transparent and let you all know what's going on. Hopefully it all makes sense.
We going old school. So I love that. And the last thing is, what about someone that is nonverbal? Can you type into Alexa, or it's all about speech?
There was an upgrade recently to the Alexa mobile app so the user can actually type to Alexa.
No, I think that would be interesting, and always keep in mind what I'm talking about is those initial questions that are asked that determine what group you're in. So if they were able to get those questions where they could read them, because they could, but I guess like I'm solving for myself, because if they're nonverbal and they're reading off the app, then they're answering the questions off the app. But once they get in the groups, how could that person? So no, this actually makes sense. Yep. You got me on my toes. I'm trying not to be on my toes. My brain is tired.
Where would this rank as a priority? Maybe this would be more of an investment for you all. Would just be something that you always see as a worthy investment. Would this be a high priority?
As a startup, because technically we're still a startup, this would be something that I would say is medium high, because we want to be able we believe that anybody who participates in a gathering or goes to a gathering should have the same opportunity as anybody else to be connected and feel part of the community. So as we grow, it comes up higher as a priority. But as we are moving ourselves through validation, and you only have so many pennies to move around, but we've been interested in this for a while, because we have had clients that have said we have participants that would be special needs. So what is going on, especially on college campuses, oftentimes people have aides, and those aides can help them through. But we also want to support people being independent and not relying on somebody else. My interest is 100% peaked. I need my interest and my dollars to match up. But this is something that would be, I even believe, a feature that our direct client would even be willing to pay an additional fee in order to have.
Absolutely. I can see that being a value add. I've been trying to do that in my own content, thinking more about like color contrast. I think that just being aware is key to success. We're at the end of our time. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to share anything that maybe you're really passionate about or want to shed some light on.
Hi, sir. Dr. McNeil, you've been raised right. I so appreciate it. It's two things, right? One of the things that I said, I am a surTHRIVOR of open heart surgery. I actually had open heart surgery as a child, like a long time ago, almost with Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble back in the day. But I survived that. But as an entrepreneur, I actually was diagnosed with breast cancer and with no symptoms and all of that stuff. And so I always like to tell people breast cancer happens in men as well. But what I like to tell men and women, make sure that you are going for your annual exams, and no matter what, make sure you don't put those exams off, because no matter how busy you are, whether you're an entrepreneur or regular, you're going to work every day, taking care of your family, taking care of your business. If you're not here, none of that stuff matters. So I'm all about that. And then secondarily, I told you, now as an entrepreneur, I'm passionate that everybody should have an opportunity to play this game, and not just the elite. We all should be afforded opportunity and access. And so we have to be intentional about it. We can't talk about it. We can't keep doing white papers about it. Folks in power positions have to be intentional. And you know what? Even if the 345 people you back fail, then you need to find 346. So we have to be intentional about that. And that's just something that I would I have to add. It's not that I even want to, I have to, because this dang journey has been much harder than it should be and is for so many people who won't even dare to try.
That's a word.
Wait, I was going to say, does somebody get Shirley on the organ? Can we sing a song?
Appreciate it.
Paul, this is awesome. You know that you can always reach out because I'm going to do the same. Keep us prayed up. Hopefully something big will happen.
And that concludes our Lost Files episode. Please make sure that you subscribe or follow or whatever, wherever you are consuming your podcast, and share this with a friend. Check out our previous episode, which was done much more recently than September 2022. I hope to see you on the next episode. Thanks.